Well, welcome everybody. My name is Margaret Maddox, and I'm the president of Chapter AR of the Kentucky P.E.O. And we are so excited that you've joined us tonight for our self-care series. This is session number 4. It's tentatively titled, I guess it is titled, Journaling for People Who Don't Like to Write. And I am case study number 1 in this instance. So I'm a person who I always think I'm going to like to write, but I just never really can do it in practice. So we'll talk more about that as we get into it. But I want to welcome you. Thank you for coming and joining me tonight. We are going to be talking about journaling and how it relates to self-care. Before we get started, I want to say this is going to be a pretty interactive discussion tonight. So I hope you're ready to interact. There's a few ways you can do that. One, if you'd like to speak, you can either wave at me like this and I'll call on you and you can unmute. You can also use the raise hand function in the reactions on the bar down below, and that will alert me to your comment. Or you can use the chat function if it's available to you. All three are encouraged. But if you don't feel like chatting, that is okay too, because the important thing is to realize what you need. That is a big piece of self-care. It's to know what you need and when you need it, and to be able to give that to yourself. So I'd like to give you permission tonight to do what you need. So if what you need to do is speak, then I want to give you permission to do it. And if what you need to do tonight is just to be a listener, I'm going to give you permission for that too. So, and I hope more importantly, you'll give yourself permission to do that. That's the most important thing. So welcome. My name's Margaret. I am a spiritual director by training. And what that really means is I listen to people and I help them, most importantly, listen to themselves. We can get really busy. Even when the pandemic slows us down, we're still really busy, if not outwardly, inwardly, I think we notice. And sometimes it's hard to listen to what's going on in ourselves. And as a spiritual director, I help people slow down and hear what's really going on. And why is it important to hear what's going on? I think it's just easier to live life when we have a better understanding of ourselves. And so that's part of the reason why I became a spiritual director was probably firstly to get to know my own self, get to know myself. I've been with a spiritual director for 20 years myself. And same one, pretty much once a month for 20 years. So physician, heal thyself. First of all, I do that. But then I sit with people because I want them to get to know themselves. And that can also be in a religious context, but for tonight's purpose, we'll just say if it's religious for you, great. And if it's not religious for you, that's okay too, because it works in both contexts. So journaling, right? You're here tonight, maybe because you thought it was going to be yoga, but surprise, it's journaling. But maybe you're here because you were like, journaling, that sounds interesting. One thing I know about journaling, there are a lot of different definitions and understanding of what journaling actually is. Now, tonight we're going to be talking about journaling in its role as self-care. So that's going to be something we'll bring in just a minute. But I'd like to just start this out by saying, what do you think of when you hear journaling? What do you think of? Stephanie?
I think of diary.
Diary, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Somebody, how many agree with that? Raise your hand if you agree with the diary. Did that come to your mind? Yeah. Almost everybody.
Yeah.
Me too, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hillary, did you have something you wanted to add?
Writing what's on your mind,
Okay.
that
yeah.
basically that's a diary.
Right, exactly. That was one of my first thoughts too, Stephanie, was just there were a couple novels when I was a child, Harriet the Spy and then Anne of Green Gables. Both of those, like they were big writers, right? And so I just pictured having shelves and shelves of notebooks filled with my thoughts. And for whatever reason, I just couldn't get into that. So didn't enjoy it, couldn't get there. Now, that's not to say it's not valuable. Does anybody here do diaries? Anybody here a diary person?
Yeah.
Oh, you're all here because
a little bit.
Okay, awesome. Okay.
Just a little bit.
Okay. So we'd have someone who tries with the diaries. I tried and I just can't get there. So maybe that's why you're here with me tonight, because you feel the same way. Like, I just hate writing. I can't do that diary, Margaret. It's just not fun. I agree. So I'm gonna show you some alternatives, but so who else? Anything else about journaling, Jan?
a friend of my mother's used to write down the most important thing that happened in her day on a big calendar.
I love it.
So she had her activities calendar.
Yep.
And she could go back through the whole year and see what she had done. And then she'd use it to write her Christmas letter. But it also helped her after she had her stroke to remember what she had done.
Okay, so Jan's
Mhm.
already kind of taking this into a space that I hope to go to later, and that's a creative way to look at what journaling could actually be, right? We have some preconceived ideas of what journaling maybe is, but what I want us to get to is that creative space where journaling can be maybe a lot of different things, maybe things that we've never thought of before. So I think before we get to some of the what journaling is, what I want to dive into now is the why. Why journal? So what I want to do first before we kind of talk about this is I want you to grab your notebook. Hopefully you remember to bring that notebook and a pen, pencil, crayon, whatever you want to write with. And I want you to just take 2 to 3 minutes and I want you to write, first of all, why did you come tonight? Why did you come tonight? That's the first thing I want you to write. So I'm going to let you do that. And if you're joining us on the replay, I encourage you to do this. Go ahead and write it down. Grab a notebook, grab a pen, and write down, why are you watching this video? And the second question I want you to take a moment with, and this is similar, but I don't think it's the same question. And that is, why do I want to journal? So take a minute and answer the question, why do I want to journal? All right, I'll give you a few more seconds to write that out. See a couple people still writing. All right. So the first question I asked you to technically, I guess, journal on, to write on, is why am I here? Why am I here? So what is it that drew you in? All right, Stephanie's ready.
I put down to
Stephanie
learn.
and then Linda. Sorry, Stephanie, go ahead.
That's okay. I put down to learn to the benefits of writing my thoughts down. That's why I
Okay,
want to know the benefits.
love it. The benefits of writing my thoughts down. Great. I hope that we will touch on that. Thank you, Stephanie. And I see Linda's hand. Linda?
I came because I've tried to journal about 20 times. I always found that I ended up like writing down the day's events, which wasn't really accomplishing what I wanted to accomplish. So I'm looking for new tips, a different way to do it.
All right. I love it. Thank you, Linda. Great. And who else? Why are you here? So we're looking for tips. We're looking for maybe reasons or benefits. Sue.
Okay, I put down to learn about how it can help me in my relationships with other
Awesome.
people.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sue. Wonderful. And Leanne.
And I would add on top of that, Sue, to learn more about myself. So
Okay.
sometimes it's helpful getting things out of my head and onto a piece of paper to have a conversation and dialogue internal, with myself, basically, which hopefully will help with relationships as well, other relationships.
Absolutely. And our relationship, we do have a relationship with ourselves. So that's an important thing to note too, Leanne. Thank you. And I think I saw Hannah's hand. Hannah, did you want to share? Yeah.
I saw your Facebook post about doing, and it was like hit me at the exact right moment to figure out how to better process things. Because I've heard journaling just helps you process a lot of things, and it's been recommended to me so many times. And I was like, you know what? My mind moves too fast for my pen. So I was like, I've never been a journaler because it's never really helped. But yeah, so it was like right time, right moment thing. It's like, oh, sure, I'll try it out.
All right. Well, great. We're so glad you're here, Hannah. Thank you.
And I kind of think
Hillary. Yeah.
For me, it was kind of a spur of the moment, but I did see it on Facebook and I was kind of pulled in with the self-care, and I don't do any of that for myself ever. So, yeah, I think it's just a kind of I'm opening up a new thing for myself here. So, and I like
Thank you,
Margaret,
Hillary.
so.
I like you, Hillary. Well, thank you. And I hope we want to encourage you, Hillary, we just want to applaud you and say, yes, with the self-care, like we just support you. That's so important. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Sure.
Anne, did you have something that you wanted to say?
Yeah, I would say I joined in because I want to get to know my P.E.O sisters better, and I like to hear what programs you all have and what knowledge you have and what ideas you have, and so far it's been extremely interesting. So I'm up for learning more.
Thank you, Anne. That's awesome. All right. And I see that Jan's got her hand up. Look at Jan raising the hand. If you want to unmute and share, Jan, you got this.
Why, I was thinking the other day, there were so many things I wanted to ask my father about certain things, and I never did. And if he had journaled, I could kind of look at what he had done, and maybe that would have answered some of my questions.
Thank you, Jan. That's awesome. And
I do it for my kids.
Absolutely. And I think you speak to even another aspect of journaling, and that can be when we share those journals with other people. That can be a powerful thing to share. So, and Sue kind of touched on that when she talked about, not that she'll share it with others, but that it could work. We could help work itself out, work things out with others. Linda, I noticed your hands up. Do you have more to share? Okay. All right. Well, those are all great answers. I think whenever I have an interactive time like this, I'm like, oh, we could get so specific with each one of these. And I love the one-on-one because we can go so much deeper, but I'm hoping that we will touch on something that will be helpful for each of you tonight. So, and if we don't scratch that itch, I'm happy to do a complimentary one-on-one with you so that we can kind of go a little deeper with what you're hoping to get out of this. I love to do it. It's what I do. It's complimentary. Please let me sit with you if you would like that. So the next question I asked was why do I want to journal? And these questions are similar, but maybe not the same. Did anyone come up with a different answer? And did that surprise you to come up with a different answer?
It wasn't necessarily different, but it was a little bit deeper, I guess.
Yes.
I was just saying I'd like to journal as a way to process things, to get out of my think cycle, because what happens is that you're just thinking over and over again, and writing it down, as somebody has always recommended to me, it helps you get out of that cycle and get it onto paper.
That's right. I love that. And I think that you've touched on a really important thing, Hannah, and that's when it reminds me of sandpaper. Has anyone ever sanded a piece of wood, right? So you can sand it and you get a nice kind of softness to it, right? But if you go back and sand it again, what happens? It gets a little softer, right? So we can keep visiting these things, right? And we can get something new from it. We can get a different take on it. There's a lot of different ways to do it. So sometimes I like to continually keep asking the same question because I think you may think, aren't you going to get the same answer? Not necessarily. You're going to get some nuance. And I think that's an important part of the process. Did I see another hand? Anne, did you have your hand up? Oh, it was Stephanie. Sorry. You moved on the screen. Stephanie.
So I think what I wrote down was for stress relief
Mm-hmm.
and to share feelings that I can't speak
Mm-hmm.
and to help me focus. And by feelings that I can't speak, it's kind of like what Hannah just said. I'm going to call this reminder that sits on my shoulder the itty bitty shitty committee.
Okay.
And
I
so
love it.
over and over and over again, it'll tell me you should have said this, or you should have said that, or you should have said something else whenever you're confronted with something, or I'm sure other people have done this. You've rehearsed over and over and over again what you're going to say if you're confronted with something. So I'm hoping that journaling will help me get past that.
Oh, Stephanie, that's wonderful. And what a vivid image you've given to all of us now what a gift naming that committee that sits on your shoulder. I think many of us will be able to relate to that. And it's great to name it because I think naming it helps us. So thank you. Does anybody else want to share a why? I want to give you a second. I've got one more. Hillary, yes.
I think for me, it's basically an outlet for me. It just helps me relieve any emotions I've got right now. And I just kind of write things. And, during that whole shutdown about a year ago, I was writing things that was going on each day. And it was kind of like I was kind of writing history during our pandemic. So
yeah,
but just keeping up with something like that.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that, Hillary. So she's touched on a couple different things. There can be so much to it, right? There's a lot of depth to journaling because she's mentioning kind of a history of the pandemic, which she'll be able to potentially share with her, kids, grandkids, whatever in the future. But also it helps her working out some of those emotions, getting it out, getting it on paper, which is what Stephanie was talking about too. So the importance of, it's kind of like paper therapy, if you will. Therapy is much more than that. I don't want to belittle. Therapy is very important, but it can be therapeutic. I'll say it that way. Therapeutic paper. All right. Anyone else? I don't want to leave anyone out on your why to journal. All right. Well, we are going to revisit the why because I feel like the why is the drive or the energy that runs the machine. Okay. You have got to have a good why or you won't do it, or you won't do it for long. Bottom line. And the best example I can give you for this, or best example I can give for myself anyway, is physical activity or perhaps eating. These are things that usually one or the other, you can relate to one or the other. We know we need to eat better and we know we need to work out, right? We know all of the reasons, we know all of the whys, and despite all of the whys for better eating or working out, many, or if not most of us, can say, no, thank you, right? I can say all day, I need to eat more spinach, but that will not make the spinach palatable to me necessarily, right? So though we got to have a why that's specific to us, but I think we need to have a why that's fun. I haven't come up with a better word for it yet. I've been using the word fun all day when I'm thinking about one I want to share with you, because I guess that's where my heart is. But it needs to be a why that really connects with you on some fun level, or you're not going to do it, right? So that's what we want to help you discover tonight, is a why that's going to get you to do it. So we'll come back to the why. We're going to address that question in a little bit. What we're going to get into is now, what is journaling? And I'm going to give you a few examples. I have many of what journaling could be for you, because we talked in the beginning what some of those things we think about what journaling is, and we all had that image of shelves and shelves of notebooks that we wrote in that were just like diaries, right? Great way to journal if that's your jam. Not my jam. I'm not, it's not that I'm necessarily interested. Well, no, I'm not interested. I'm not interested in doing that. I'm just going to be honest. No, I know I'm not interested because I've tried it multiple times and it doesn't stick, right? It's the spinach to me. I actually like spinach. That's a terrible example, but it's the distasteful kind of journaling that I just can't get with. I can't get with it. And for a long time, I made myself feel badly about that because, you know, journaling is healthy. Therapists tell you to do it. Spiritual people tell you to do it. Your church tells you to do it. Everybody tells you to journal, right? And you start to feel like or I should say, I'll personalize it. I started to feel kind of bad about myself that I just couldn't make myself do it. So what happened? How did I kind of get over that hump? Two things happened. One, I came up with a why that really worked for me and motivated me. But the second, and I'm going to come back and revisit that. The thing that really happened was when I started to look outside of the box or just take that journaling, set it on its edge and look at it in a different way. Meaning, there's a million ways to journal. They do not have to look like writing in a notebook as a diary. And once I freed myself from that expectation of it doesn't even have to be writing. Once I freed myself from that expectation, I got very excited about the possibilities. And here's another thing I want to, if I can, disconnect you from. And that's that you have to do it the same way, even more than once if you don't want to. The thing is, you need to come up with ways to journal that are fun and engaging. They're going to bring you to the process however you get there. I'm going to go back to this example of physical fitness. Physical fitness were, for me, swimming, for example. And every day I would have to get in the pool and go swim. I would never work out. It is not interesting to me. I don't want to be in a pool. I just don't. I don't mind water, but I don't want to be in a pool. Now, you may be thinking, I love to swim. Great. Yes, some people love to write diaries. But physical fitness started to click for me when a couple things happened. One, I found some things I like to do, and then I realized I didn't have to do the same thing every day. In fact, does anybody know what cross training is? It's really important that you cross train, right? Because if I just do the same physical exercise every day, what happens to my body? It gets used to it and it stops being effective. Journaling is the same way. Now, we're going to find the rare bird who has a diary and writes every day and it's effective for them for 95 years. And I'm going to call her Emily Bronte, and she's lovely and amazing, but she's also in the minority, in my opinion. So I need you to understand that journaling can be like cross training. You just got to find what's going to light your fire in this minute, right? Knowing that the next minute might be something else. So in order to give you some examples and some things to start with and maybe to ignite your creativity around journaling, I want to show you some of the things I've come up with as a person who wouldn't have said I was a journaler until I looked around and began to widen what I define as journals and realized I'm a heck of a journaler. Let me show you what I got. So I'm going to give you some ideas. This first one is called my dream journal. I'm going to show you what I do in my dream journal. I haven't got a matching pen because, you know. One thing that I found that gets me excited about journaling is I love school supplies. Okay, school supplies made me happy from a very young age. Pens, pencils, crayons, all of the notebooks. Started to feel guilty about why I kept collecting them and I wasn't writing in them like a diary till I realized, oh, I don't like writing like a diary. I like writing other ways. So my dream journal is a very simple thing. And what I do is I write the date on top and I write something. Now, this isn't your typical dream. I'm not writing what I'm dreaming at night. I'm writing what I'm dreaming of wanting to do. Okay. Dreaming of wanting to do. So when I think of something I'd really like to do, big or small, I open a page, open to the next page, write the date, I write the dream, and then I review it periodically. This is important, right? So I'm going to go back, I'm going to review it. And then I'll discover these things start being answered. I start getting to do these things. So then I go back in and I write the date of when it happened and write just a little description about it. This is a fun journal to visit when I'm feeling blue, right? I can remember the things that I've done that have been answers to kind of dreams. I'll read one for you right here. This was a dream that I put down 9/20, is that September 29, 2011, right? 10 years ago, my dream was to meet an owl. See, it doesn't have to be a big thing. You don't have to go to Italy. I wanted to meet an owl. And guess what happened? 3 months later, I wrote here, I said, I met Kentucky, a great horned owl, and Lindo, a barred owl. And I made a little description of how that actually came to be. It was a gift that somebody gave for me. But, you know, just write these little things down and then you revisit them. So that's just one little example, a dream journal, a different kind of dream journal, right? Not a big deal, not something you spend tons of time with, but just a way to get some things out. Here's one that's really out of the box. I actually have several of these. And this is, I'm embarrassed to show, but I'm going to show you a sketchbook. Okay. What, lady? We're talking about writing. No, we're talking about journaling, right? And feelings sometimes have to be expressed in ways other than words. Sometimes before feelings become words, they are other things. And one way we can do that is through sketching. So I keep these little, look, it comes with the, right? It comes with everything I need. I keep these nearby. And if I'm feeling one way or the other, I'll get it out and I'll just sketch. Now, you saw, no, those are some, what I showed you were actual things I was trying to sketch. So that's a little bit different. Sometimes when I think of sketching this way, I'm thinking abstract art, right? So I'm just going to get the colors out. I'm going to pick the color, my mood, and I'm going to do the thing. And I'm just going to scribble, right? I'm just going to scribble. I'm just going to make some abstract art. Now, will I understand what it means? Maybe not. But guess what will happen? I will probably feel better for having done it. So I want to encourage you to consider abstract art as a possibility. And you don't have to have a fancy little journal to do that. You can have any notebook you want. I got to mention this one because it was all the rage for a while, but some people really get into bullet journals. Okay, it's fun. Like, I tried it. I'm going to be honest though, I didn't keep up with it. It seemed like a fun idea. And if you get into bullet journaling, that's great. There's books about it. In fact, I have a book right here. You can buy a book, you can get really into it. If that floats your boat, that's great. It's a fun, different kind of way of journaling. It didn't really work for me, or it worked for a few days. It worked for a season. I may revisit it. I'm trying to be an example here of what I'm talking about when it comes to journaling. You try things, and then it's okay to say, oh, that doesn't work for me. Okay, so I'm trying to model for you what I'm saying here. Oh, I tried bullet journaling, didn't work for me. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with bullet journaling, and it also doesn't mean there's anything wrong with me. It just means that me and bullet journaling don't mean anything to one another. Okay? All right, another kind of journaling that I like to do is just, and this is kind of what Jan was talking about. This is just a day planner. And I will keep a little journal of things that are going on during the day, right? And it kind of looks like an agenda, sure. Like, these are the things I need to do today. You might include your to-do list on it. But it's a way to look back and think about the things that were happening in your life. And sometimes that can be illuminating, right? So if you have an agenda that you use or a planner, that can be a good place to quote unquote journal, right? And when I say journal, I mean a word, a sentence, a picture. Oh, I'm going to get really crazy here. A piece of trash. A good example of this would be a fortune cookie fortune, right? I tape those in. Anything that, here's how you know you need a journal with it. It captures your attention. This Dove chocolate wrapper made me stop. Oh, put it in a journal. Yeah. All right. And I don't have an example of that here, but I do have journals like that where I will tape down something that caught my attention. And then when I feel like it, I'll go back and I'll write about it. And I can even use it as a writing prompt, which is another type of journaling, right? It's a writing prompt. I'll get to those in just a minute. But you can use those found items as a writing prompt. What does this Dove chocolate bar wrapper say to me right now? And then you can revisit later and say, what does it say to me this day? What does it say to me that day? And what you're going to find is you are a person of depth, much depth, because I'm going to guess that on any given day, that Dove chocolate bar is going to hit you, or wrapper is going to hit you in a different way, right? And that's a great awareness because I think it helps us to be more gentle with ourselves, because it is okay to feel differently about something on a different day. It's also, ladies, it's okay to change your mind, and it's okay to change it back. It's okay to change it back and back and back and back. It really is okay. So it's all about being gentle. All right. So many journals, so many journals. I want to show this one because it's not exactly a journal in the traditional sense, but it's a coloring book. And when we're talking about the goal of journaling, which is to clear your mind, one of the goals may be to clear your mind. There's a lot of goals for journaling. You have to kind of tease out what you want your goals to be. But if one of your goals is to clear your mind, and some of you have mentioned that, coloring can be a great way to do that. So a coloring book is a good place to start, and you can also journal in the margins, okay, as you're thinking about it. So anything can be a journal, right? It doesn't have to be one notebook it can be many journals. I will throw this in. I did write a journal with journal prompts, and it's just 4 questions that you use repeatedly every day. So if you'd like to know more about this journal that I wrote, I can give you you can find it on Amazon. I can tell you about it. But journal prompts can be a really helpful, you don't need mine necessarily, but mine are there. But a question that you respond to every day for a season. Again, you do not have to do it for the rest of your life. You are not marrying this type of journaling. You're just committing to something fun, something that catches your attention, that's going to make you feel better. Okay. All right. So here's another kind of journaling, and that is, I want to call it 2 different things. One is, no, I'm just going to call it one thing. It is when you are reading a book and you come across a passage that really speaks to you. You're going to take that passage and you're going to write it in a journal. And then you're going to go back and look at the passage, and you're going to underline the phrases that meant something to you in that passage. And it can be a short passage or a long passage. This is actually where I'm writing the book of Matthew, right? Just writing the book of Matthew for kicks and giggles, right? That's a different type of journaling. It releases stress for me to just transcribe that book. But I will take passages from books, and then I will highlight words, and then I will rewrite those words. And that is my own new text that I've come up with from that text. It's a kind of I'm not really even sure what to call that, but it's a different way of journaling. So I'm just trying to open your mind to all of the different types of journaling there could be. I'm going to show you one more, and then some of you may have seen this if you've done a journaling workshop with me before. This is from a book called Praying in Color. It's basically doodling. And what you're going to do is you're going to write, or like doodle praying, or whatever you want to call it, doodle sending someone good vibes. Let's say I want to pray for Hannah. I would write Hannah's name down on a piece of paper. Again, can be a notebook, can be anything. And then I'm going to take pens, pencils, whatever, and I'm just going to start doodling around her name while I'm thinking about her. That's all I'm doing. It may be a flower, it may be whatever, but I'm going to doodle. I'm going to think about Hannah, and I'm going to think about sending her good things. I'm going to think about her upcoming wedding. I'm going to think about, oh, she wants to find a dance class. Oh, I hope her mom's doing well, right? And these things start to come to me as I'm thinking about Hannah and I'm doodling about her, right? And pretty soon I've drawn a beautiful doodle and I have prayed for Hannah while I was doing it. Okay. So that's another way to think about even prayer and doodling. So, okay, Margaret, why are you throwing all these things at us? I feel like you just threw a huge handful of stuff. I did. Why did I do that? Well, part of doing that is to help you see that journaling doesn't have to be one particular thing. That is both the blessing and the curse. Okay. The blessing in that is you think, oh, so there's lots of options I could be doing. Yes. The kind of curse of that is, oh, now I have to figure out what works for me. Yes. Yes, you do. And that's where I kind of offer my services. Can I sit with you? Can I help you do some problem solving if you need it around what kind of journaling will work for you? Maybe. Hopefully something in some of the journals that I've shared either struck you as, you know what, I might like to try that. Or it made you think, oh, you know, I've got a journal from this that I tried. Or, oh, you know, I used to have this habit that I enjoyed. I'm going to revisit that. Because the clues to journaling working for you are actually in your life already. Okay. Sometimes it can come out of the blue and surprise you and be something that you're like, oh, that's something brand new I've never visited before, like Rome. But a lot of times, the type of journaling that you're going to love, the things that are going to mean something to you, are something you've been doing all along and maybe you didn't recognize as journaling. The key here is to figure out what seems fun to you. So I want you to grab that piece of paper and pencil again. And I'm going to ask you to write down what things are fun to you right now, recognizing that those things change. What was fun to you 2 weeks ago may not be fun now, but what's fun for you now? There's no wrong answer. What's fun for you now? What can you spend time doing that you lose track of time? What is fun for me now? And hopefully everyone will have an answer to this. If not, we do need to talk. All right. I remembered when I was, it's kind of a long train of how I got to this thought, but I remembered when I was asking you to write something fun, I think I was asking myself, what do I think is fun? And then I thought Gilmore Girls, because that's the answer to everything in my life is pretty much Gilmore Girls. And then I realized, and I was like, how would that translate into journaling? And then I realized I forgot to share 2 types of journaling I wanted to share with you that are, again, different, but I think are important. One of them is called 5-minute journal. And I don't know if you can see the app. It's an app for your phone, okay, or for your iPad or for whatever. It's called 5-minute journal. It's free. They do have a service upgrade, but you can do the free version. And it's a way for you to use your technology to journal, because you don't have to use pen and paper. If it's fun for you to be on your phone, be on your phone. If it's fun for you to be on your iPad, be on your iPad, right? You can journal that way. You can even include pictures in the 5-minute journal. It lets you put in pictures and journal about those if you want to. And the other thing I'm going to say about using technology is maybe you don't like to write and maybe you don't like to type. So another option is voice to text. It reminds me of people in the old days who had that little tiny tape recorder, right? And they would just go record, or dictaphone, like the guy who's talking to his secretary, write a letter to such and so, such and so. We have these great voice to text options now with our tech. And that's a great way to journal because you can get your feelings out in a private way. So on most phones, you have something, it's called Notes on iPhone. I don't know what is on Android, but it's a free thing that's already on your phone, right? And you can just, in your notes, record your thoughts and your feelings. And if you want to, you can revisit them later. And if not, you can just use it as therapy and kind of like you're throwing them over the boat and getting rid of them, right? You can do that too. Get it out and then save or delete. So I wanted to share those two things. But let's go back to this question. What is fun for you? Does anybody have an answer that surprised you? Or does anybody have an answer that you think, how in the world am I going to journal with this fun? Let's hear them. Stephanie. What's fun for you?
Crocheting.
Crocheting is, that's right. Crocheting. So so you get excited when you go to crochet, right?
Very much.
Yeah. And we never have to say to you, Stephanie, you really need to buckle down and do some crochet. So that's right. So the trick is going to be finding, it's not really a trick, it's totally possible. It's finding something connected to crochet or something that gets you as excited about journaling as crocheting does. It's totally possible. Actually, I'm going to work on that on my mind. There's a way to connect these two things. But also, I do want to say, though, that Stephanie, what you do as crochet is self-care. Because you do something you love. You let it, you do it without judgment. You just enjoy it and you do it. And that is actually good self-care. That's kind of getting into the why. Well, I'm going to hook back into that. Haha, see what I did? Hook, crochet, hook. I'm going to hook back into that in just a second. We'll come back. Who else has a fun that you're like, how am I going to? Anybody else? Jan.
I like to embroider
All right.
and sketch.
Okay, and sketch. Oh, see now sketching, that's kind of sketching can get into the journal thing there. So that might be our in with you. That's great. Thank you for sharing. And Linda, you have your hand up.
Margaret, you already know this, but I really enjoy writing planning documents and goal setting type things.
You do, and you're excellent at it.
I don't know how to journal with it, but okay.
Well, okay, I'm going to say this to you. You may be one of those humans that would like a bullet journal. Because
Okay.
bullet journaling is a lot about that planning, a lot about that skill. We'll talk about that, but that might be an example. But yeah, you can do that kind of planning and goal setting as you're journaling. Totally doable, because then you get excited because you're coming to it, right? And I think box checking might be fun for you. Am I imagining that? Right? Goal setting, box checking. Yeah. So there's totally a type of journaling for that. Absolutely. Anybody else? Hannah.
I've been enjoying baking recently.
Yeah.
Mostly for others, because I shouldn't keep it around because I'll eat it if I do. But I just really am really enjoying it right now.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm having a thought around the baking and the crocheting that you may want to hook into or not. But and it would be particularly good with this 5-minute journal type of a thing. But it's where you would take a picture of what you baked, take a picture of what you crocheted, and then just make a little note. Journaling doesn't have to be long. I think that's where we get hung up. Journaling can be a sentence. Journaling can be a word. Okay. But Hannah, you would take a picture of this lovely cake that you've made, and then you'd say, I made this cake for Jan on December 17th for this, and it was this kind of cake, and it tasted amazing, and I got it out of this book, and I think I want to do it again. Or, and you kind of memorialize, if you will, that cake that you made, right? So that's a way to journal about it. If you wanted to go even deeper, you could say, while I was making it, I felt X, Y, and Z. Something I thought about while I was making it was X, Y, and Z, but only if that's fun, right? Because if you make it into a chore, you won't want to come back to it. Okay. And this is, if I could just give you one thing to walk away with from this, it is, if it's not fun, it's not for you. Like, you have to find the journaling thing that's fun that you're going to keep coming back to. Okay. Or you're not going to do it. And it's not, and you don't need to do it. I want to free you from that. you do not need to do a self-care thing that's not self-care. That's goes against the definition of self-care. So that's a possibility. And I'm not saying that like your hobby has to be hand in hand with your journaling, but I'm just saying it can be though. It could be. It could be. All right. Other things that are fun.
I like to read everything, like not just books, but everything.
Yeah.
And I already do a part of what you said. I sometimes write things down
Yes.
that have struck me, sometimes just a sentence or a paragraph. And I also write things down from greetings cards that I've bought for people. You know, I keep a collection in the house and I pick the right one. And then sometimes I've written down the verse because I really liked it and I wanted to read it again later after I'd mailed it to them. So
And do you have one particular journal that you use for that?
no, I just have a couple, like I have a notebook in my bedside unit and I have one on my desk, but I haven't really dedicated, you know, one nice journal to it. And I'm like you, I like journals and books and pens and stuff like that.
Yeah. And it, you know, if you like the school supplies, I always feel like that's a good clue that you need to put pen to paper. We just have to figure out how to do it and what kind of lights our fire. So if you're big into the school supplies, there's a reason, and it's just setting yourself free to use those. It could be dedicating a little notebook to greeting card sayings.
Yeah.
Right. It could be dedicating a little notebook to, or they don't even have to be little notebooks. I really like just plain old notebooks, right? And I put stickers on them because I'm like a kid, but I love stickers. And so I decorate them. And I have a very fun way that I use these. If you're ever curious, just, you know, shoot me a text and I'll tell you how I actually use these because it's actually kind of fun. But, you know, writing what you're reading, sentences from what you're reading can be very powerful, and then you can revisit them, right? And you can revisit them, and you can play with them, and you can take a highlighter to them, and you can rewrite things that you're learning from there, like, oh, this word stands out today, why does that word stand out today?
Oh, okay.
Right?
I like that.
Yeah, so I'm going to journal on that word today. So I guess what I'm saying is a lot of these things are going to be prompts, writing prompts for you. What's a writing prompt or a journal prompt? It's a question that gets you to think about something that you're going through. So it's just like, it's a therapeutic thing for you to have a writing prompt or a journal prompt. Sure, you can, you know, buy my book and use those journal prompts. Sure, whatever. But guess what? Your life is filled with your journal prompts. They're everywhere. They're the little things that pop up and say, hey, I'm a Dove chocolate thing wrapper that you've kept. Hey, I'm your writing prompt. Hey, I'm this thing that keeps popping up. Why do you keep popping up? Oh, because I'm a writing prompt. I want you to think about me. And I want to free you from the thought that you have to write paragraphs and paragraphs and pages, because you really, 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 really don't. If you sit down and tape that into a notebook and you write one word, you've journaled. You've journaled. And that's how I can call myself a journaler. Not because I do have a lot of notebooks, but not because I have shelves and shelves of diaries, because I realized that journaling is just something that I do to help get things out and help myself connect with the things that are going on around me. So it's one part paying attention to what's popping up in my life, and one part paying attention to what's really fun to me, and then leaning into that and kind of bringing those two things together. So that's what it means to journal when you don't like to write. It's paying attention to what's popping up in your life. It's finding something that's fun and leaning into those things together and figuring out how they go together. And I promise you, sometimes it looks like there's no way you can bring those things together, but you can. There's always a way to bring these things together. It's miraculous, but it's true that there is a creative way. And it could be a new thing that somebody's never thought of. Maybe you're going to be the person to bring it, to birth it into the universe right now. But I guarantee it's going to be something that's going to be helpful, not just for you. If it's helpful for you, it's going to be helpful for somebody else too. So I guess if I could say one more thing, it would be, I would love to encourage you to birth some of these things. If you're at all inspired by this, birth it, like birth it into the universe, because you can share it with somebody else and make a difference in their life as well as your own. But I don't want to put that on you right now because you're here because you need self-care. So I want to revisit for just a moment your why. I've talked for like way too long at this point about journaling and all the different ideas and how it should be fun and are you paying attention. But what I want to know for you right now is what's coming up for you. If journaling could help you with one thing right now, so get your journals out and get your pens. If journaling could help you with one thing right now, what would you like journaling to help with?
I would say just the words you've been using, that it would make me pay attention to what's going on. Because sometimes it's easy just to switch on the TV or play some music or fold the laundry or eat and not recognize, not pay attention to what's going on. So I think it would make me pay attention and think, okay.
I love it. Thank you for sharing that, Anne. I've got a new idea for a journal as you're talking that. I'm like, oh, I want an attention journal. What got my attention today? And I'm just going to start. And I could do that on my planner, right? But just write, what got my attention today? That's a great journal prompt, Anne. What got my attention today? That's a great examine end of the day thing even. Thank you. So take a minute to write those things down. If journaling could address one thing for me, what would I want it to be?
For me, I stay in my feelings a lot. And so I think it would help me figure out where that came from. Like, what was the thought that brought that feeling on, that brought that certain thing that I can't quite get out of? Like, again, that thought cycle, and figure out whether that is a truth or a lie I'm telling myself, so then I can get out of it.
Ooh, Hannah, I'm seeing an amazing, like I've got an amazing journal like layout for you right now that's just popped up. But guess what? You'll come up with one too. Like I think when I came up with it, it's like, no, that's really for you. Like Hannah might enjoy it, but Hannah, you could probably come up with your own. But I love that. And one thing that journaling will do, if you allow it, is it creates this space between you and the thing happening. And that space is what we need to be able to learn to choose how we want to move forward. Like to give ourselves choice. We got to give ourselves room so that we're not reacting. Don't we want to be able to choose how we act rather than react? Right. All right, Leanne, it's 8 o'clock. So thank you for coming with us. I appreciate it. We're just getting ready to wrap up, but would anybody else like to share anything? Or do you have any other thoughts or questions? I want to open it up for questions. Sue.
Okay. In our church, we have a Bible study on Wednesdays, and we go through different passages. And like you were talking about Matthew, I think that by journaling, it could help me to absorb more about what I want to learn. And to me, this is like the best because, like you say, praying in color, and stuff like that. I think that would really be a big help.
Awesome.
So I'm going to do that.
Awesome, Sue. Thank you. Oh, I'm so glad you found something that might work. Yeah.
Yes.
And you try it. And the beauty of the journaling is you try it, right? And then if it doesn't work, it's okay. You try something else.
And if you write something down too, it helps you to remember, especially me, like you said, keywords and stuff. So I think it'll be beneficial. Thank you.
Absolutely. You're welcome. Thank you, Sue. Anybody else? Questions, comments?
Well, I'm going to go out and buy a journal. It's a good excuse to look for a nice looking journal now.
Absolutely, Anne. I love it.
Linda's had her hand up in the air for a long time.
I think it's just up from before, but Linda, do you have something else? No, it's up from before. Thank you, Stephanie. Well, I want to say in closing, first of all, thank you for coming. And I feel like a lot of times when I do this, I just kind of just open a great big can of worms and then just kind of throw it at you and then leave. And because I do feel that way, I want to say I'm available for complimentary sessions for you. If you'd like to do a one-on-one or even a one-on-two, like if there's a couple of you that want to meet with me together, we can do like a small group. I'd love to work with you and to help you come up with a personalized self-care through journaling, something that's going to work for you. So if you'd like that, please reach out to me. I'm available. I'd love to do that for you and with you. I get something from that too. So don't feel like you're imposing on me. I love it. And I would love to do that with you and for you if that's something you're interested in. So please don't hesitate to reach out to me. That's what I do. So thank you guys so much for coming. This is going to be available as a recording online. So if you know anybody that you think, I've got somebody that might be interested in your goofiness, please let them know this is available and we will share the link with them. But again, thank you so much for coming. If you'd like to connect with me, please do. And if you'd like to know more about P.E.O, we'd love to share that with you too. We are an organization that helps women get more education. So that's what we do. And we also just have a lot of fun together. So if you're looking to have fun with women, helping women, we might be your group. So thank you guys so much for coming tonight. And I hope that you had a great evening. Get out there and